I wanted to kick off today's episode by asking an incredibly important question. Who remembers these? If you don't, then you're in for an absolute treat. This little egg-shaped device is a Tamagotchi, and it contains a digital pet you take responsibility for the second this crosses your palm. There are loads of little characters, but I don't know which one mine is yet because it's currently just a blob with a smiley face. They were incredibly popular in the late 90s, early 2000s, but lost this group of dedicated fans to other virtual pet games that had slightly more in-depth content than staring at the tiny screen and waiting for something to happen. However, now, you can walk into a shop and find a Tamagotchi again, and it's just as exciting as it was in the early 2000s. I'm sure the majority of you remember the stress of making sure your Tamagotchi is fed and happy to prevent the inevitable guilt of picking up your tiny keyring and realising you've somehow managed to kill this tiny collection of pixels. Not that I'm speaking from experience, because I 100% always kept my Tamagotchi alive and it never ended up buried in a bag or a box or starved to death or drowned in its own litter tray. But despite my rather rich history with things like this, I'm happy to say that virtual pets like Tamagotchis are back, and they require a lot less attention and commitment. In fact, if you're looking for a cutesy addition to your daily screen time, which doesn't need the same involvement as a full-blown game, then today's topic is bound to suit you. Even if you're not looking to adopt another cluster of pixels anytime soon, we're covering everything from doing laundry and checking stocks and going shopping. You know, all that fun stuff. Like tending to your lawn. Like Ropuka here. Don't mind him. He's just gonna do his own thing while we have a chat. I'm Kara, this is my Tamagotchi, this is Ropuka, and this is Sadaharu, this is Mr. Lover the Shrimp, there's a little Kirby, that's a Palico, there's Cinema Roll dressed as Hatsune Miku, that's Eddie, there's a cow, there's a Rathalos, there's a Rathalos at the back. Bonk Boy's here because apparently he's cozy. And there's a little duck from Spirited Away as well. And this is Cozy Corner. Today we're going to be talking about all things idle games and desktop pets. I'm just going to go ahead and say that idle games are rapidly becoming the modern day equivalent to virtual pets. But to anyone who's yet to delve into the wonderful subgenre of comforting, cozy, idle games, you're probably going to wonder how exactly Cookie Clicker would even be shoved into the same box as a virtual pet. But hear me out. There's a whole world out there, you just need to know what you're looking for. In case you're entirely new to idle games as a whole, this term describes a genre of games that will continue to run and progress without you having to actively play it. When you do have a spare minute, all you usually have to do is go in, click a few things, and then go back to whatever else you were doing. So as you can imagine, we're not talking large-scale RPGs or intense action-adventure games. These tend to be a lot simpler by design, but they're perfect for anyone who might not have the time to sink into a full-blown video game. Or they're equally as perfect if you're the complete opposite and cannot go a second without some form of game running at any point. A lot of the time, idle games will serve as an overlay on your screen and sit just above your toolbar, which is the perfect position really because it means you can ignore them while you work away and focus on something else above it, or if you're anything like me, you'll completely forget the fact you were working in the first place and just stare very intensely at them for the first few hours and defeat the point in idle games as a whole. But once I'm over this initial fixation and I've let my birds fly the nest, meaning I've chilled out and remembered that these games are meant to be ignored instead of me watching over them until my eyes burn, I appreciate idle games for all they're becoming. In fact, it feels like there's been a huge surge in cozy idle games lately, and one of my favourites to share is Rusty's Retirement. This game takes the formula of a farming simulator, so cultivating crops, tending to the land, all that jazz, but you don't need to keep spreadsheets of profit pools open to make good progression. You can forget all about this game for hours, and the retired robot Rusty will still be taking his time and chipping away at his to-do list. As you let it run its course, you'll earn money for the crops that you make, which you can unlock alternative seeds for, buildings for around the farm, or even robot helpers to take the load off Rusty's shoulders. All you need to do is occasionally check in and click your little tilled soil to get Rusty to plant some more seeds. It's as easy as farming simulators could possibly get. But if you were craving something similar to a Tamagotchi or the virtual pets that we grew up loving, then you're in luck. Tiny Pasture has scratched... Do you mind? Tiny Pasture has scratched the itch that has been burning under my skin since they stopped creating classic webkins in 2018. While we're talking about webkins, I wanted to introduce you to someone very close to my heart. This is Harry the Hippo. He was my first ever Webkinz, which I got in 2006, and he is so grubby now, but I still love him dearly. He was the first one I ever adopted, and then after that I got like 50 others, but he's one of the only ones I kept. So everyone say hi, Harry! Of course, it's not going to perfectly replicate the feeling of bringing home a brand new plush toy, opening that code, and paying Miss Birdie a visit to adopt your new pet, but it does come pretty close. I felt a moral obligation to check in with my Webkinz every single day and go through their daily activities, and there was a lot of pressure to keep them happy, fed, clean, all the stuff that you do with a real pet minus the vet bills and all of your belongings being chewed up. Tiny Pasture ticks all the boxes of cute animals who you take some responsibility for, but you don't need to be as actively engaged as you would with old school virtual pets. You can leave your farmyard of fluffy friends on their own and come back hours later and they won't be angry at you, starving to death, or beg you for attention. Your army of bunnies, dogs, cats and capybaras will be just as happy for you to drop some food and leave them be again. It's not just animals and farming either. Idle games are finding new ways to carve a unique spot in the genre while still crossing paths with the typically cozy aesthetic. Mundane tasks like doing your laundry can be replicated in idle games, which obviously makes them a lot more fun. Take Bao Bao's Cozy Laundromat, for example, which is exactly what it sounds like and simulates working in a laundromat. No matter how long you leave it or how often you check in, you're still making progress. There's no punishment for not playing. If there was, I'd probably be on the verge of tears for most of my day. I've got enough trauma from angry Webkinz, so I don't need any more. Another perfect example would be Cozy Desktop Konbini, a shop simulator that sits at the bottom of the screen and constructs a traditional Japanese convenience store, except all your customers are animals, and I imagine it's much more chill than working rush hour and serving all the salarymen their ready meals. It's all about decorating, and you unlock new items and decorations as you leave them to run in the background. At the end of the day, it's any excuse to play a game, right? And idle games are the perfect solution to this. A cute overlay of any sort of simulator that lets you crack on with meetings or essays or work without having to keep a second monitor on. With no pressure of active commitment to progress, there's a perfect place for idlers in cozy gaming. And I can't wait to see which game I can monitor like CCTV before remembering I don't have to. If you've got any idle game recommendations, please leave a comment and let me know what you're playing. I'm always looking for any excuse to actively avoid the task at hand, even though I swear that they require much less attention than any other game. Also, if you fancy joining me next time in Cozy Corner, be sure to subscribe to PC Gamer.
Okay.
La 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 la. Doesn't seem to matter what I do.
Let's do another one of that.
Number 2.
But
I'm filming here. Bottle of water.